because I grew up in DC, like the late 80s, early 90s, there was a lot going on, but there was also a lot of entrepreneurship, and the community was very interconnected in a different way that exists today. And I think that played a huge role in who I am and how I operate, because I saw Black and brown people that looked like me creating their own ways.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Lara, host of Radical Acts Uncut. I'm a creative and entrepreneur and CEO of Impact PR. Today, I'm speaking with multi-hyphenate artist Marjuan Canady. She's a Tony-nominated Broadway producer, arts consultant, storyteller, and founder and executive director of the Canady Foundation of the Arts. She made her Broadway co-producing debut in 2022 on Death of a Salesman, and additional co-producing credits include The Wiz and Alicia Keys' musical Hell's Kitchen. We last crossed paths with Callaloo, one of your former businesses, as well as Girls, 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 your one-woman play. I got to interview you a few years ago, and since then, I feel like you are popping up in my feed every day, winning another award. I saw you recently were the inaugural recipient of the Kendra Gibson Youth and Community Legacy Award. So welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you so much. And it's great to be reconnected.
Excellent. Well, can you kind of just start off by telling me when you first knew that the arts was your calling?
A great question. I I would say the arts have really been in my life since I was maybe 3 or 4 years old. So I started off in dance, and like a lot of young people, just taking classes, and it really was a hobby of mine, along with sports and a lot of other things. So I think growing up in DC, I had just had a lot of exposure to the arts, festivals, public art. My family is from Trinidad. My mom's from Trinidad. My dad is African American. So I just grew up with a lot of culturally rich connections, whether they were at home or, from the classes that I was taking as a young person. But I didn't really start taking it seriously until I went to high school. I went to an arts high school in DC called Duke Ellington School of the Arts. A lot of people know it from our most famous alum, Dave Chappelle. But that was when I really started to take it seriously, and my whole world just opened up to the possibilities of being a professional artist.
Awesome. And what is the origin story of the Kennedy Foundation for the Arts?
Yeah, well, the Kennedy Foundation for the Arts is my nonprofit that I started in 2015. And we serve youth of color ages 3 to 18 in specifically the theater arts, but making connections for young people to not only be exposed to the theater, but also receive training. We provide workshops and also opportunities for young people to create their own work so their voices are amplified. But really, the catalyst for creating it stemmed out of my work that I was doing with my children's brand, Callaloo Kids, which I started in 2012. And naturally, we were just serving so many young people. Although I was writing plays and writing children's books, there was this education component to it where we wanted to directly impact young people, whether it was through schools or community initiatives. And it just made sense to start from there to create a foundation that could house the work that I was producing. So everything that I've done from day one has been independent. So a lot of the work that I was creating, I was also figuring out how to build structures around it, one to own the work, but also to distribute it. And this was, back in 2012, 2013, when I was building the foundations of the organization. So it's been a journey in figuring out, okay, this is how we're going to develop it, but where the future of it is going, and it's just blossomed and grown beyond my imagination.
Yeah. And then even with being named the Canady Foundation, even legacy, it has, your name attached to that as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I'm a mom now, so I'm always trying to encourage, my daughter, the importance of ownership and creating your own way. And to me, at this point in my life, being able to pass down not just work, but also businesses and opportunities for my daughter, and other young people to participate in, and more importantly, the community for them to be part of the larger vision that I have.
Mhm. Great. And when you think back to your childhood, is there an experience or a moment that you feel like contributed to like your inner drive?
That's a great question. I would say I'm trying to think of like a specific moment, but I would just say in general, I think because I grew up in DC, like the late 80s, early 90s, there was a lot going on, but there was also a lot of entrepreneurship, and the community was very interconnected in a different way that exists today. And I think that played a huge role in who I am and how I operate, because I saw Black and brown people that looked like me creating their own ways. Both of my parents are entrepreneurs, so I remember being a kid and filing paperwork and helping with payroll and cleaning and doing all the things that it takes when you own a business. So I was exposed to that from a very early age, and then also just being exposed to so much art, whether I was actively participating or just seeing it all the time. I think those were some of the biggest influences I had.
Sounds like it's in your DNA, art and
A little
entrepreneurship.
bit.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And so on this show, we unpack tests, and it's a good idea to always stay ready. So, can you tell me about the tests that tried to take you out?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think there have been many tests over the years, but I think one of the biggest tests that I've had is making the transition into accepting what was for me. Before I moved back to DC in 2015, I had spent some time in LA, and I was doing mostly commercial work and on camera work as an actor, and slowly started moving behind the scenes. And there were many experiences out there that that derailed me, I would say, from who I am, derailed me like momentarily. So I think my time in LA, like I experienced like very dark moments being out there, and recognizing how important it was for me that I needed community around me. I needed other things in order to find happiness and be happy. So the journey that I thought I wanted, of more of like a traditional path into the industry and the business, was not right for me. And there were many tests from just working with different artists, or I won't name names, but popular artists and people that I looked up to, that it it was clear to me that this was not the path for me, and I had to make some really tough decisions to whether to stay in that environment or to pull myself out of it and to focus on my own path. And I'm glad that I did that, because I was able to, use the work that I created to further amplify not only me as an artist, but also build organizations and build a community of artists around me. So I would say, my time, I wouldn't take it back, those many tests that I had in LA, because it actually helped refocus me on what I needed to be spending my energy on.
Yeah, tests will repeat and come again and again. And it's important to, I guess, find a way and through community to kind of stay grounded. And you had also had an interesting, shared that there was an interesting test that came up for you when you were co-producing Hell's Kitchen. Can you tell us about the test? I think where you had 2 weeks to
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
tell me about that.
Okay,
Tell me
okay.
about that.
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that. Okay, thanks for the reminder. Yes, so that particular test, moving into the Broadway space, it moves very fast and opportunities come very quickly. And I was asked to join the team, the co-producing team of Hell's Kitchen, and I had to raise a certain amount of money, like a six-figure number, within like 2 weeks. And I had never done this particular number before from my other productions. So I just kind of jumped at that. And I mean, I think like being now in the Broadway space, I had to shift my mindset around money specifically and value. So although I was like so afraid and very fearful about achieving this goal, I I don't know, I just like really pushed myself and thought creatively how to approach fundraising, which, as an artist, creativity is just at the foundation of who I am. But when it comes to management and administration, I try to find ways to bring my creativity to that as well. So I think that Hell's Kitchen experience really showed me that I can take a lot of the skills that I have as an artist and being a creative and bring that to the management side of it. So all in all, I was able to achieve the goal, but it was so scary. I just remember I I couldn't sleep. Like I was just anxious all the time for those 2 weeks, but I was able to get the job done.
Yeah, can you, I mean, I can only imagine the anxiety and again, fundraising, you're an artist, you don't expect to be fundraising too, but 2 weeks is also crazy. Like, I guess, what did you have to do differently in terms of the fundraising to make it happen? And also, how did you quiet the anxiety that I'm sure you were feeling throughout your body?
Oh, yeah. So what I did, I really just changed the strategy. I changed the approach and I thought about who were the people that I thought would want to be a part of this as well. Because I think sometimes when you think about fundraising, whether it's Broadway or it's, a particular project you're working on, or you're trying to find funds to support your business, no matter what it is, you have to think about who are the people that want to go for the ride with you. And sometimes it's, creating a list, and from that list, finding like the 10 people that you trust, and from there, inviting those 10 people to invite, 10 more people. So it was a lot of that. It was using the networks that I've built up trust with over the years, and from there, like, we all just built this little community within a week and a half, 2 weeks. And I think ways that I quieted like that voice that created so much anxiety. I think a lot of what I did was to get active. So like I went on a lot of walks, and for me, meditation. Sometimes I meditate like sitting down, but I meditate from walking, or I'm a swimmer too. So active engagement physically with my body helped calm me down. I remember I drank a lot of tea that those 2
Oh my,
weeks to
yeah.
just be peaceful inside. And I tried to just pour that energy after like a couple of days of realizing how anxious I was. I just tried to revert that energy into what I was doing. And once I got a few people to come in and invest, it started to just trickle in. And it, like, the energy was just, it went from positive at first to negative and then back to positive. So I really just tried to reshift the energy there.
Yeah. And I guess the what you felt then achieving that goal, it must have been all the more worthwhile, or I guess the sense of accomplishment having done that in
Oh,
2 weeks,
yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And again, like, I think that saying, like, if you stay ready, you never have to get ready. I'm a true believer in that. So, you know, it's not just the work that comes like when a Broadway opportunity comes or a big opportunity, whatever your industry is in, but if you're putting in the work daily, if you're building connections, you are building relationships, you're fostering relationships. That's the work that you do daily. So when those opportunities come, it can just happen. It's not something that you're scrambling for, but you're just stepping into it. So I felt like, okay, this opportunity came to me at the last minute, but I'm just going to step into it and I'm going to do it and it's going to work out some way.
Yeah. So what would you say to creatives about kind of staying committed to your craft, even when you might be pulled in, multiple directions or just kind of dealing with doubt?
I would say to creatives, you know, you have to remember why you're doing the work in the first place. And yes, all of those things are going to come up: doubt, fear, anxiety, and it happens to everybody. It's not like you reach a place and then you're never going to feel those feelings again. I feel that every single time, whether I'm stepping on stage or starting a new project or troubleshooting issues, I think you have to remind yourself, why you do what you do and continue to find the love for it and the passion for it. And it may shift and change as you grow, and that's okay. But for me, at the end of the day, I'm all about highlighting and supporting stories that center Black and Brown people. And whether I'm writing it or producing it, I don't really perform anymore, but you know, there's I want to amplify that and I want to be a part of projects that do that. So I try to find the love no matter where it is and put out good energy because from there it will always come back to you. It will if you're putting in the work and you're putting in, positive energy, that's all people really want, to be able to work in an environment where there's good energy, people are supported, ideas are supported. And I think when you just stay true to why you got into it in the first place, everything will figure itself out with true intentions, good intentions.
Yeah, I believe that too. And if you were given your test to do over with the fundraising test that you had,
Okay.
would you make your test disappear?
Absolutely not, because now I feel like I, I definitely know that I could do it again, but it's just a reminder to me I can face any challenge like head on. And, just I'm a lot more stronger than I thought I was. And specifically in that area, so an area of fundraising where I'm still growing and I'm still learning as well. I was able to complete that mission, I would say, in a great way. So I wouldn't change it at all.
I like that. Thank you for sharing that. And Thank you, everybody, for listening to Radical Acts Uncut, and thank you to Marjuan. Before we do close out, we do have a segment called the Radical Report, which is our crowdsourced segment where listeners share a radical act and why it was worth it. Because, we never know who is listening, and our courage can also inspire others. And so listeners can write me a 60 to 90-second note about a radical act that they took and why it was worth it. It could be small. You can remain anonymous if you'd like. Maybe you finally took that solo trip or asked for a raise. And so today we have a radical report that comes from Carlton Thomas. He writes, in 2009, I was working as a mental health counselor with the unhoused in Chicago. They would spend winters without much of anything and still get it done. I wanted that resolve too. So that winter, I spent most nights in boots, shorts, a t-shirt, gloves, and a hat to strengthen my resolve and dependence on material luxuries. You see, I grew up poor and in a rough environment. The fear that always plagues you is that you are one job loss away from going back. It's an ill motivation. Yes, it pushes you forward, but you never feel secure. So stripping away those material luxuries was about breaking my dependency on the things that we think we need to get the work done. These signs of making it are nothing but anchors that kept me stuck and fearful. All of this is grasping the wind. Thank you for sharing that radical report. And thank you again to Marjuan for joining me today. Please tell listeners how they can support the Canady Foundation for the Arts.
Absolutely. You can visit us online at www.canadyfoundationarts.org. We're on social media as well at Canady Foundation Arts. There are many opportunities to get involved, from volunteering to donating. We're also looking for new board members. So if you are interested in executive leadership opportunities, there's opportunity there, as well as if you are an actor, performer. We have a repertory company that is housed in our organization, and we're always looking for professional actors of color to join the company.
Thank you. And can you also tell listeners how they can join one of your upcoming office hours?
Yeah, my next office hour is coming up in November, so you can go to my website, www.marjuancanady.com, and there will be more information there. You can sign up for my newsletter as well. I always drop a lot of opportunities, and my office hours goes first dibs to everyone on my newsletter.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And please subscribe to Radical Acts Uncut wherever you stream your audio, and follow the show on Instagram at Radical Acts Uncut. And remember to embrace the beauty and the mess.